So I'm pretty sure by now you all know that obviously I'm not actively playing Division 2 right now. I mean, I've gone over why, and I think many of you already understand that point. It's just not where we would like the game to be, and that goes for PvE and PvP. I mean, it's just not in a good spot. But I have been paying attention to it. I mean, I keep updated on the game, updated on what's going on, and I'm sure many of you already know, about the leaks that came out of the PTS, the files that got data mined, and basically revealed some of the season info that's coming up. And there was also some speculation about a new mode coming called Skyscraper, which it turns out on State of the Game they actually confirmed this, that Skyscraper was indeed a new PvE mode that they were going to be releasing sometime in the distant future. And if you weren't really paying attention, Skyscraper is apparently some sort of new mode that you basically have 100 floors or 100 levels on a building that you need to clear. And it's kind of a progression based mode, so if you make it to level 100 and beat it, you win the mode apparently. And if you don't, like you get basic rewards every certain amount of levels, kind of like a combination of resistance and underground, something like that. At least that's what it sounded like based on what was data mined. It sounded like a combination of modes from Division 1. However, on State of the Game they really stressed the fact that this mode was not going to be like Division 1's Underground. And I think that's kind of a little bit of a disappointment to most people. Now, I'm not saying everyone loved Underground. And in fact, most people did not really even play the modes from the original Division. I mean, all that DLC, that was mostly like 5% of the community who played Division 1 actually got those DLCs. So, I mean, I can understand why they're not exactly rushing to recreate these modes. But honestly, this kind of worries me because what other thing in this game do we have that might indicate what this kind of mode might be built upon? What kind of ideas do you think we would see in something called Skyscraper? And honestly, the only thing in this game that really even strikes a chord with me that sounds kind of like a mode that they were trying to go with would unfortunately be Kenley College. Yeah, I don't really think that there's anyone who has a fondness for Kenley College. I mean, I will honestly say it is hands down the worst mission, the worst mode, whatever you want to call it. It is just, it's awful. And I mean, not only the fact that it's kind of boring, you run around, looking for terminals and, do 5 minutes of fighting and then spend, 40 minutes running around. It's awful. Okay, that is not very fun. That's not why you play the Division. But then the second reason is just because of the time gating. The weird bi-weekly or tri-weekly. I don't even know. I haven't actually played Kenley College since the first time it unlocked itself. So I don't really even want to even think about going back and playing anything even similar to Kenley College because I just found it so terrible. And this is why I'm worried about 100 level based Kenley College. I mean, could you imagine running around trying to find the light switch on every freaking floor? That's the objective. You got to turn on the switch. Holy Jesus. Like, sweet baby Jesus. That would be absolutely terrible. Now, obviously, I'm just being a little bit of a negative Nancy there, or maybe even a worrywart. But the fact is, if that is even remotely true, that's basically what you're looking at. You're looking at some sort of very basic floor plan where you have to go through, kill the enemies, and find the objective, and then you go to the next one. I'm sorry, but that does not seem fun or interesting. Now, I'm not saying that this idea is dead in the water and there's nothing they can do. But to make this good, in my opinion, they really need to step out of their comfort zone in Division 2. I mean, you can definitely tell that they've got a certain playbook of how they adjust things and how they, make things. And for the most part, it's kind of a rinse and repeat of previous things we've seen. And it's not very fun. Now, when they add new missions or something like that, they're good, for the first, 1 or 2 times you run them. And then after that, of course, again, they just get really old, really boring. They're, rather lengthy, and it's just not that much fun to actually go farm these things, and you don't want to do it. Now, if we're looking at 100 floors to clear and finish this mode, I mean, how much time is that? How big of a time vampire is this skyscraper mode going to be? So far, they have not mastered fun replayability in Division 2. They just haven't done it. And I don't really think there's anything suggesting that they will be able to do it. And it's very discouraging to me that they say that, okay, unfortunately, yeah, it's leaked out, but we're not going to talk about it at all. We wanted it to be a surprise. You wanted it to be a surprise? You just want, like, I would think that currently, with the way that the game is now, you would probably want as much feedback before you wasted a whole bunch of time making something that nobody's going to like anyway. So just kind of like flinging something onto us that you thought was going to be a great idea has not worked well so far. I would honestly think that the best way to deal with this situation is to explain the premise of Skyscraper to the player base. Get feedback on what you actually are looking at. You don't need to go into specific details on, floor by floor or whatever, but a basic premise of what this mode is going to be, to at least see if this is going to be something that the players actually want to play, to see if this is going to be something that actually keeps players entertained for a good amount of time, because I'm assuming that after they release that, I mean, the game's probably going to be out the door, right? I mean, there's not much future in this franchise with this game. I mean, you're looking at the new console coming out at the end of the year, and if this game, looks like the life cycle is going to be about another year, at least of supported content. After that, I mean, once they end up releasing the last of the seasons, once they end up releasing, this tower mode, what is going to be left? They're not going to be, releasing more DLC. They're not going to be, selling anything else for this game, maybe with the exception of like apparel stuff. But they're not going to be pushing this game. They're going to be, obviously, most of them probably already are on different projects. The remaining people on the team are going to be continually plucked away for other projects while this game is winding down. And we are going to be left with a very bare bones, dev team as far as, what the future of this game holds. So honestly, my hope would be that they gather feedback from the community directly and help influence at least somewhat of a positive ending to this game. I mean, yeah, a lot of us are playing it. And yes, a lot of us have been bitterly disappointed by this game since it launched. I mean, I know I have. It's still a playable game, and I realize that I did get plenty of hours of playtime in the game, but I'm not going to say that all that time was fun. I mean, for the most part, it was me playing, hoping in vain that eventually the game would be fun. And overall, I really think that based on, the feedback that I've seen, that it really does seem like I'm not the only one who thinks Division 1 was just a better game, period. Now, there are a few people who do enjoy Division 2 more than Division 1. I don't have a problem with you enjoying the game more. That's not a problem. But my problem is that, it just seems like more and more players are coming to the realization that they would rather be playing Division 1 than Division 2. Now, honestly, I think if Division 2 and Division 1 were actually competing against each other, so let's say they were releasing DLCs for both games, I honestly think that Division 1 would probably have better success at this point than Division 2 would. And that's part of my disappointment with the whole way that, Division 1 ended, because, it really felt like the game was going in the right direction. It really felt like the game was, building up momentum. And, then they went into Division 2, and all of that just disappeared. A lot of it just went out the window. They rewrote everything. They changed everything. And for the most part, I don't think it was for the better, and a lot of people agree with that. It wasn't for the better. Now, some people like the changes. Obviously, that's fine. Like, I don't have a problem with you liking the changes or, liking this game for what it is. But it really just feels like the Division 2 team was just very ignorant about what the game was, about what the game was supposed to be. And they made something that was just, built on like the worst feedback that was, just cherry picked from whatever source. And they ended up with this game that just did not match player expectations for what the sequel should be. And it didn't really feel like an improvement in many areas, outside of specific things like the open world. Universally, the open world is head and shoulders above Division 1. But at the same time, why couldn't they have done that stuff in Division 1? what was so special about Division Two's open world that it couldn't have been done in Division One? Now, if you look at some of the earliest stuff in the Division, going back to like 2013, control points were in the Division. Dynamic events were in Division, and there was a lot more stuff in the game. If you just even look at like the little things, right? Like in Division 2, a lot of people were like, "Oh, the supply drops, that's great. It's a good looting method. It's a good farming rotation. At least it was before TU8." But I mean, those were pretty much just repackaged from Division 1, and they had like the UAVs on the little parachutes that were stuck to the sides of buildings and stuff like that you had to shoot down and to gather the intel. I mean, they just changed it to a box that dropped an item. Most of the mechanics that Division 2 built itself on were there in Division 1, and just saying like, well, it's better. Yeah, why couldn't they have done that in Division 1? Why could they have not added that stuff as, additional content? I mean, it's aggravating when you think about it like that. So what I'm getting at is that it seems like Division 2's ideas are mostly just stolen or repurposed ideas from Division 1, or ideas that were supposed to be in Division 1 that ended up getting cut out. And those are the things that people like. The things that people like were the stuff that should have been in Division 1 in the first place, but were not. And if we're looking at this new Skyscraper mode, where a lot of people are kind of hoping it's something similar to Underground, but the developers are, being very negative towards that idea, saying, no, we're not redoing anything that we did in Division 1, even though a lot of these changes and a lot of the rehash, stuff that they are doing is from Division 1. It just makes me worry that this mode is going to be very, very useless to the majority of players. It makes me worry that it's just going to be a useless thing that they add at the end of the game just to say they added something, and almost like a last-minute desperate Hail Mary to retain people for their next project whenever they decide to release that. I really hope that they do go on to make a Division 3, and I really hope that it takes a lot of the lessons that were learned in Division 1, and it abandons a lot of the things that they did in Division 2. But anyway, guys, I'm really interested to know, what are you hoping from this new mode, or at least what kind of things would you like to see? What kind of things are you expecting to see? Or is it going to be something that you play once and you're just, no, that's not fun? Because now is the time to push the matter, when there is still the possibility to change it and adjust it before it actually gets released. Because once it gets released, we're probably not going to be seeing, like TU15 that revamps everything. We're not going to be getting that. We're not going to be getting the second vast revamp of everything in the game. And whatever this mode releases as is going to be the thing that will stay with this game till it is just, done and dusted. So if you have a desire to see this game at least, end on a strong note, or possibly, have a good stepping off point for Division 3, then I think that, expressing your expectations for this mode, expressing your ideas or expressing your opinions about what you envision Skyscraper being, I think that's very important. And I think that, if the devs do not take note of something like that, then honestly, I think they're even more foolish than I could ever give them credit for. So, that'll be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.